Hello, and welcome back, y'all. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on are you a construction employment ready? So let's get right into it. Put some questions on your mind, right? Would you say the majority of all trade school completers were ready for industry, for the construction industry? And would you say that a company's needs are greater than your skill development? And how close would you say basic training has brought you to your construction goals, right? And lastly, can this be compared to someone in high school, a graduating senior, not being prepared for college? All right, so let's be crystal clear. The construction industry needs both skilled and unskilled laborers. Both of them are in demand. There's a shortage of both of them. Okay, so it doesn't matter so much to the company that they would love to have both, all right, obviously. But if you're not prepared, if you're not in rhythm, then you're definitely going to be that unskilled laborer. Companies are willing to hire workers with more soft skills than hard skills. Let's make no mistake about it. It's just like when you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you to diet and exercise. Well, it's just the same in construction. You need the theory and you need the practicals. You need the hands-on. So hard skills and soft skills, you need both of them. So let me give you an idea of what those are. Soft skills are like teamwork, organizing skills, or resiliency skills, or confident building skills. Think of it, things of that nature, right? Hard skills would be hand and eye coordination, dexterity and endurance, and maybe even precise or precision cutting and things like that. Let me give you the skilled workers, right? So in the trades, there's a carpenter, there's an electrician, there's a plumber, there's the welder, there's a painter, there's a machinist, there's an HVAC mechanic, all skilled, right? Then there's a semi-skilled worker. Typically, industry want you, you're in high demand as well. You're simply a helper. So as a semi-skilled worker, things you may do, load and offload trucks. You're going to make maybe basic cuts and measurements and things like that. But you're going to be a helper. You're helping at that point, right? Then there's the unskilled. The person who they look for a physical strength task, right? They don't use a lot of reasoning and critical thinking and things like that, right? They perhaps just wait on you to give them instructions all the time, every day. Companies do compete for good quality workers, as well as workers compete for good quality companies. For retirement, 401k, for vacation packages, for salary increases, job positions, longevity. So, right, just making no mistake about it. I want to use carpentry as an example of one of those skilled persons, right? So, carpenters have to measure, mark, and cut and assemble. They do a lot of calculations. They climb ladders all day. They crouch down. They go backwards and forward. They use other tools, power tools, hand tools, level squares, things of that nature all day. All right, and so in using those, we'll come to a trade school to give a person that's in training the option to come work for them for a dollar amount, right? And I'll discuss that. I'll talk about it in a second, a little bit later. But I want to also mention math skills, right? So I've never seen so many people reject having math skills when that is the first thing you're gonna need. So I didn't know this as well. You need project management skills. You need to know how to bid on a job, how to do a takeoff, how to do an estimate, how to do a contract, how to do payroll, how to keep inventory, how to collect and submit data for taxes and things like that. So you need it. So, or you're going to always be working for somebody that does that for you, right? So as we go through, we're going to look at a little bit more of why. So there are 4 basic things and then 5 basic things, units of things that you need to be a carpenter, right? So you need to learn how to measure, mark, cut, and assemble. If one of those things are off, then your project will suffer. Something is not right, right? Then there's the 5 group. The 5 group is the square, level, plumb, aligned, flush, right? Those go together. And if one of those now are not good, then the project will suffer. So just think about all 9 of them. If one of the 9 is not there, the project is going to suffer. I like to include a 10th one, and that's diagonal. So speaking of diagonals, you can punch in your calculator the Pythagorean theorem, right? The diagonal. And if you're using a calculator, that number, I promise you, is going to come back as a decimal. So coming back at a decimal, you're not going to know how to convert it or transcribe it into a number that you can recognize on a tape measure, right? So we need math skills. Let me give you one. So if you had, let's say 13.6875, that's 13 and 11/16. But you don't know that because you're now reluctant to get mathematics for your advancements. And also, the company that's taken you out of the trade school too soon, because you're in training, that gives you, promises you an incentive, and sometimes they don't unfold, and you're unhappy. There's a lot of times I've seen people at a corner store because they don't have a direct bank account, so they cash in their check there, and that they're in line complaining the whole length of time. They're proceeding to cash their check about their salary. The numbers are not right. I'm going to ask for a raise. I'm going to quit. Things of that nature all the time. This is what I see because of the neglect of, I don't want math skills, right? And then there's also, also the myth of the 16th. I don't get below a 16th. Well, yes, we do. We'll calculate some things directly or indirectly, right? So we make mistakes all the time. So indirectly would be that one. So you may shoot for a 16, but you're cutting a 32nd. So we need 64ths. That's what I'm saying to you. 128s, 256, 512, 1024s. We need those smaller numbers, especially if you're doing furniture, cabinet, great fine furniture building. You're going to need those. And so then one of the things you don't have is the thing that you need, whether it's survival in your own company. People have aspirations to own their own company. You don't know how to do a bid. You don't know how to do a takeoff. You don't know how long it's going to take you, how much it's going to cost this project. You don't know what to tell the client, so you go into resources. Now you're going back to the same place, which is a technical college or a trade school, to get the thing that you was pulled out from because your aspirations, you want to get back on the track with them to say that, yeah, I want my own company now. I've worked, I have some experience, right? I find that a lot of folks also, and it's nothing wrong with it, but you got to make it make sense that a lot of people I've ran across have contractor's license and they don't know the job, they don't know the work. So then they become really a real general contractor. A general contractor knows broad information, right? General information. And so one of the first things that I learned is that, or that I see, is that general contractor have to submit or hang on to what that skilled laborer, that skilled person can do. So my dependency as a general contractor is no different than an unskilled laborer, right? Some things they learn along the way. So yes, I am making money, but this is that crossover now, that go-between. So you're making more money than the guys that are trained, that are skilled. That's what you're saying. And this thing has to at some point come to an end. We have to kind of stop producing long-term or permanent helpers. That's what we have to stop doing. And so I wanted to give more information on why I think you may or may not be construction employed. Development is nothing that you cannot do as a semi-skilled or unskilled worker. You got to now treat yourself better because the demand is there by the industry for needing both. The industry, I'll repeat it, needs both skilled and unskilled laborers. And now we want you to be somewhere in that middle section. You are semi-skilled, and then we sort of like can control that arena, that area. And we always hear the promises, you're going to make this amount. We're going to give you an increase in this amount of time. You're going to become permanent. You're going to have a leadership role at some point, right? Position increase. And then when the time comes for that evaluation, sometimes you never see it. So I've met workers on the job who's been in it 10, 15 years, and their salary, I know they can't meet the demands, the current demands, like the house note, the rent, right? Or the car note. The car insurance, the brake tag, the license plate, the food, bookkeeping, record keeping, paying taxes, things like that, right? And my thoughts, I think that there's a cycle of workers coming in. So you're supposed to come in as maybe a helper or a semi-skilled, and then you go to skilled worker. And that rotation keeps coming in and coming out of that company, right? But when we think about how longevity or how many years we work for a company, then that becomes 10, then there's no room for that cycle to kind of work appropriately as it should work, because somebody been there 10 years, had not moved up, right? Only a few raises, and that may have been 5 cent, 10 cent, a quarter raise, is not enough to sustain them, and that worker has hope, right, of one day providing for the family, right? Buying a car, buying a house, a car, keeping insurance, a brake tag, license plate, feeding and vacationing and things like that. But they can't because they stagnated. And what doesn't help is that they go from job to job to job to job looking for that same thing, rather than taking time, because they can't, right, with responsibilities, taking time for themselves to prepare themselves in that development that I talked about earlier. So there's time for everything, every component. Then there's the desires of wanting things, right? So let's say you're a kid, you're in high school, and you want these things particularly, right? So, but you can't afford them, the parent can't afford them, but now you want them. So the fastest way is to maybe graduate, get into the workforce, work industry, and now you're there. And so now you don't know, or you don't have anybody to talk to and kind of give information about what it is you really need to do to grow, to be prepared for employment. And I watch a lot of people saying or retrofit things, and they wasn't correct, and they refuse to recut them, put them in place, and you'll never know. As a homeowner, as a buyer of a piece of furniture, things like that, you'll never know. So math skills are very vital to your career, and you're moving up or elevating, because with more accuracy becomes more of a iconic thing. You know, people get word of it, your salary increases, right? Let me tell you one of the downfalls. Employers needing workers, skilled or unskilled, will come to a trade school and recruit you with a little bit of incentives, right? They'll tell you that we're going to start you off at this amount rather than the regular laborer's pay. And because you're needing that income, because you have responsibilities, you're going to say yes. So you go into industry with the promise that, okay, we're going to give you a raise in 6 months. We're going to give you this vacation package, and they don't, right? So now you're in school before they pull you out of school to go to work for that particular company. I think is not good, right? For longevity, it's great when this road meets that road. When you come to community college or a technical college or trade school, and you have been recruited for that particular company, yes, everybody looks good, everybody happy, but the person sometime employed.